We are about to brave the storm in a skiff made of paper. And how it shall end, God only knows.
That's a pretty large signature, Johnny.
So Fat George in London can read it without his glasses.
Political pop quiz. Disable the pause button, camera guy. Because that's cheating. You want to learn something? Learn it on your own time. Oh, wait. Pencils up. Begin. The words separation of church and state appear in A, the U.S. Constitution, B, the Declaration of Independence, C, the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, but of course you already knew that, D, the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, E, the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, F, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, G, all of the above, H, none of the above, or I, some of the above. Mark all that apply. And time's up, pencils down. What? It was only one question. The answer is B, no D. Just kidding, C. Ha. It's gotta be I, H, or G. Really, seriously. Did you even think about this? The real answer is actually H, none of the above.
Felt was that each individual should have their own relationship with the Creator. But they set up this amazing system under our original Constitution so that, because they were fleeing persecution, they were fleeing a king and a tyrant who was forcing their subjects into a religious tradition. The kings and the rulers of that old world were subjugating their subjects into a specific religion or a spiritual tradition. So in our original Constitution, this freedom of expressing your spirituality, expressing your love for the Creator, however you want to express that belief or that faith that you held, was held so sacred that the state was set up to protect the rights of the individual.
I think we should still have the Pledge of Allegiance to, in the school. I think we should be able to, have the 10 Commandments written wherever we want to. But that's my personal take. I believe in God, and somebody else believes is their own. I don't think government should get into religion. They should stick to government.
Hello, my name is State Senator Tim Keller. I represent this area of town, around this area of Albuquerque, in the New Mexico State Senate. Well, our Constitution holds that state and church should be separate, and so I support that. There's all sorts of situations where those areas conflict, and by and large, I believe we should stick with the Constitution. Certainly things like elections and so forth, when we need a public building, I do think sometimes, hey, if we need a building and a community doesn't have a building, let's use the church. So that's how I feel about it.
I'm Janice Arnold-Jones. I am a candidate for Congress in New Mexico's 1st Congressional District. The key to them was choosing our own. As the Pilgrims came over, they were under the King's thumb, and they said, this is how you will worship. And there were many Christians who said, no, we don't believe in worshiping that way. These churches were right next to each other, and they worshiped as they chose, and as they came out every Sunday, they were still friends and neighbors. What a wonderful story about our country.
H, none of the above. Surprised? Of course you're not. I mean, you are, but you're not. Wait a minute. You're hearing about it all the time in the news, right? The fight about having the 10 Commandments in a courtroom, or whether or not kids should be praying to Obama? The separation of church and state is one of the hallmarks of American freedom. Here's the problem. Misconception. Not only do you not know where to find the phrase separation of church and state, most people don't even know what it means. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Some of you are very smart. Maybe you know what it means. Pop quiz, 2-page essay before you leave class. Here's the deal. Separation of church and state doesn't have to be explicitly mentioned in the Constitution because it's already in there. Where, you ask? It's built in by omission. There's no state-sponsored religion. Ask yourself this question. Is there just one legal religion in the U.S.? Or is it like Iran, Egypt, and Pakistan, places where there's only one legal religion and no separation between church and state? It was founded on enlightened Christian ideals, and I say enlightened because the founding fathers allowed for other religions to exist. Non-Christian religions. It's that freedom to worship space monkeys if you want. And you have to remember, when the Constitution was drafted, religious freedom wasn't really en vogue. Freedom of religion? Heretics. That's probably going to make some of our viewers mad, but like it or not, the teachings of Jesus Christ are not established laws in America. Based on them, but not established laws. Sure, Christian ideals were the inspiration for the freedoms we enjoy, and some things like thou shalt not kill made it onto the law books, in one form or another. But that being said, people still act shocked that some of our laws may actually have religious roots. What? Well, when you live in a country founded on religious principles, it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise. I know everyone's heard about the Supreme Court ruling on removing the Ten Commandments off an Alabama courthouse. Interestingly enough, Moses and the Ten Commandments are depicted on the architecture of the Supreme Court building too. But they're not tearing that down. Whether you like those stone carvings or not, it's part of our history, and it seems a little sad to me that people are so eager to get rid of it just because they disagree with what it says. It's like a Western version of when the Taliban whipped out their AK-47s and went to town on an 1,800-year-old statue of Buddha. We don't like this place's history, so we're just gonna tear it down and pretend it didn't happen. Great plan. Way to preserve our cultural heritage. We're Americans, we don't have any culture. Now that we've told you what it is, we'll also tell you what it isn't. Separation of church and state is not the elimination of all religious influence in government, as some people use it these days. I heard an acquaintance of mine advocating not voting based on your religious beliefs, as if everyone should become agnostic at the polls. The right to vote based on your view of the world is a fundamental one, and all of our laws are based on morality, what we as a nation believe is right and wrong. If people weren't allowed to vote based on their religious convictions, that would be a kind of state-sponsored religion, an atheistic religion, and that would be taking away from the separation of church and state, because it's someone telling you what you have to believe. Yes, atheism is its own religion, a replacement for other religion, a belief that there is no God. And just in case you're wondering, in 1802, President Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptist Association that the First Amendment had built a, quote, wall of separation between church and state. And that's where the famous phrase comes from. Class dismissed.